This woman is magical.
Yes, she is.
When I say magical, I mean magical capital letters, okay?
All right, we are back with Wedding Wednesday. This is episode 2. I am joined once again by Jacqueline, and today is going to be a fun segment because today we are getting into the nitty-gritty of planning. All the craziness, the good, the bad, the ugly.
How did you know that that's the 3 characters that I use?
Good, bad, and ugly?
When I teach wedding and event planning, it's the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Well, because you realize throughout your process of planning that there are going to be things that you don't account for, that you couldn't imagine, things that will make you laugh and cry, and that is not an exaggeration. So let's start with, what is the craziest thing you've ever encountered?
I've been asked that question, and I can honestly say there's no craziest thing. The first thing that would pop into my head is actually a couple just going through the whole ceremony, finding out some news that at the end of the day they're not really married. So,
okay, that's interesting. That actually brings me to another point, which is what goes into planning a destination wedding, because there's a lot of other factors that go into that. Is there something that you tell your brides first and foremost when planning a destination wedding? Because we're doing destination, and I feel like that adds a lot more outside factors and barriers and craziness.
Yeah. Destination weddings, sometimes people think it's the easiest thing because you go away and you're just having this amazing weekend with your guests and your family. But at the end of the day, when you sit down and you're like, wait a minute, I have to look at this really carefully, because you have to really take into account your guest experience, your experience as well, but your guests, they're traveling there for you, right? So from when I said earlier in the first episode, the anticipation, the arrival is just as important. That's the next step. So when they're arriving at the airport, not necessarily that you have to pick them up, but you have to make sure that it's simple for them, that they know what's going to happen, whether it's a shuttle that's picking them up or, that there's a Uber that they can access, all that information, making it available to them. The simplest thing or the minute thing that you might think, they'll figure it out, sometimes they need a little push. So as long as your guests are happy and they feel that there's a good open flow, that'll make your time even happier.
Yeah. Well, and you mentioned that, they'll figure it out. And I don't know if this is just something that comes with destination, or just wedding planning in general, but there are so many questions my fiance and I don't even, anticipate to get, from what should we wear and what exactly should it look like? And can you give us more detail on, just some of the craziest things? We get so many questions all the time. I don't know if that's normal for a couple to go through.
So do you have a wedding website?
We do.
Okay. Does it have all that information?
It does.
Then, my dear,
Yeah.
I mean, having maybe your wedding party or someone for them to be a contact. I mean, sometimes I tell my couples to have my number there on the wedding website instead of the couple, so that I'm the one directly. But guess what? They still try to call the bride or the groom or the couple and say, you know what, I have this question. Oh, but my wedding planner, she can help you with that. So they tend to go more towards you, but, having someone in your family that might be able to be your buffer.
Yeah. And now, one of the first things I feel like that we both brought up when we started talking about the good, the bad, and the ugly is the guest lists and the seating charts and the RSVPs and the plus ones and the kids and all the things that go into the list.
That's just one cycle. That's just one part of that becomes a bigger part for your wedding. You're like, wait a minute, I thought it was the music and the food and what I'm wearing. No, the guest list is a big to-do, and that needs an extra star next to it, because you really, some people look at who's sitting next to who. Are they going to love each other? Are they going to, side-eye each other or something like that? And some couples, they're like, they're just going to have to get along.
Right.
So, it's figuring out what's best for you and what makes sense
Yeah.
so that you can make it easier. Sometimes families sit together, the immediate family sit together, and they come together with their lists, and they have their A list and their B list. I don't want to know if you have a B or C and D list, but let's make sure you have an A list. So that's it. But when you have everyone in the same space and the couple, be transparent about your expectations with your family because, and reinforce it. Not to be, sometimes I end up being the bad person, and that's okay because it's like, oh, my planner told me or my planner, suggested.
Right.
That's okay. As long as friction and, you have a sense of peace when you're putting it together, and that gives you more of energy and excitement when you are sitting down putting it together.
Yeah. No, we definitely took a very long time putting together the seating charts and all of that. But we thought, who would be a great table together? Not necessarily let's group all of the family and friends that already know each other, but let's mix everybody up so that everyone, gets to meet someone new and has a great experience. So that was definitely a big part of it. And I think one of the places that we struggled, which I'm sure a lot of couples do, is just the sheer number of guests. We had a massive number in the beginning, and then we thought we would reduce it by doing destination.
I saw your number. I was like, wow, that's a big number still.
Yeah. And for us, it was, we didn't have a specific venue where, okay, here's your max cutoff. And we wanted to, especially my fiance wants everyone to come and everyone to have the best time. But I feel like, we had an idea of where we were going to land, and then overnight it seems like it just got astronomical.
Yeah, and it's like you said, your fiance, he really wants that to be an experience for everyone, and so that means a lot to him. And because it does, you're going to figure it out, right? When everyone comes together, it's going to be a happy moment, all about happiness and about the togetherness versus how many people there are there. They're there for you. So that's the most important thing. And then when it comes to really defining, I would go with what your fiance did. This is what I'm comfortable with, and this is what I want. Just define it and make sure that you're good with it.
Yeah. No, I love that. And that reminds me, because we were talking about this the other day, defining, lots of different facets of the wedding. I feel like there's so many things, and this was one thing for me that I kind of struggled with in different areas. There's so many things today that don't happen or that do happen that weren't the norm or, the traditional styles of planning or having a wedding, whether it's, the wedding wardrobe we joked about. Now you have to have 5 pieces of wardrobe, or who's going to, walk you down the aisle. That was a big thing for me. And I feel like there's so many things now that were just expected previously when it came to weddings that now are different. What are some of the bigger things that you see changing today with weddings?
Well, first and foremost, I love it. I love tradition, and I still love, deep in my heart, traditional weddings. But I also love to see couples express their uniqueness, and that you don't see too much in traditional weddings. So doing a mix, sometimes they want to express their uniqueness, but also doing a mix with what their family culture is, or just a little bit of traditional piece to it. A lot of weddings the percentage of weddings inside of a church is changing. So being comfortable with that. If your family needs to be educated on a few of the pieces that you're changing, then sit down with them. Don't expect them to know or to just say, oh, it's happening. Just have a conversation with them, because they're thinking about the traditional way, the cultural way, whether it's a multicultural wedding or a cultural wedding or just a basic, traditional U.S. wedding, right? So just have the conversation. I feel that will prevent more stresses in the long run. There are some very interesting and amazing and beautiful parents that love to share their opinions, and that is fine as long as you have that conversation as to, yes, you could share what you are interested in, what you're foreseeing with our wedding, but at the end of the day, we're making the decision, or, we want to make sure that we're including a few pieces that involves us. When you miss that, you kind of they're not fully enjoying their wedding.
Yeah. I think the best piece of advice I got, and I'll end it here with this, is that it's your wedding and you can do whatever you want to do. So if I want to have 5 dresses, or if I want to walk down the aisle to a certain song, or not toss a bouquet, like that's okay, because this is your day and you should be planning your wedding for you and not for what everyone else wants you to do.
Exactly. When I have my conversations with my couples, what do you want?
Yeah.
What do you expect? And what are at the end of that evening, what is it that you want to breathe and feel what happened? You know, it's like, oh yes, it was amazing because.
Yeah.
So identifying that because is important earlier on.
Definitely. Well, we are literally bringing our viewers through the entire process of this journey, right? So we are going to resume with our 3rd and final installment, and that will be post-wedding. All the things I wish I knew or that Jacqueline didn't tell me and how we feel afterwards. And it's going to be a fun way to kind of wrap up this whole wedding season, this whole wedding journey. So thank you for all of your help and for educating everyone on this.
I can't wait for episode 3 and I'm so excited. So stay tuned.
Yes.